Xiaohu in the top lane, and then looking to see if you can actually have a bit more stability for Cryin in the mid lane. It feels like Cryin just hasn't been having these performances that are really working out. Even in that game, the set, he fell very far behind. Matchup, I understand, is not in his favor, but even the team fights, like ulting Icon into the backline so Icon gets off some of these big ults, just it did not look clean at all for him.
Nautilus is a very high priority here for Lwandy. A little curious on that one. I wonder if they're perhaps looking for the Kai'Sa alongside that one. Bit of an interesting one, that's for sure. Over to RNG though, with the Karma as the first pick. Senna is available, Dagda.
Yeah.
It's real scary.
Oh god, I'm like Rumble is available, Senna's available. You can start to pick up these champions with a bunch of shields and a bunch of healing coming through from the Senna and make it really, really difficult. And especially if you want to go towards something like the Nocturne for the backline dive, that could be a problem. But looks like Gala, again, he just doesn't play Senna. Like, this is something we've constantly talked about with RNG. They do not feel comfortable running these Senna lanes, and I think right now that's going to hurt them in this meta.
To be fair, Ezreal Karma is also a very good bot lane, so it might also just be like a stylistic difference between what I have PTSD for and what's actually good in the meta. I realize I am maybe pushing the Karma set a bit too hard. That early Nautilus, though, is setting up for an AD carry pick here for LNG. Varus is available, or in fact, we've all been baited. They've switched it up. They go for the Gwen.
Yeah, an insanely strong pick on that top side. And I mean, you would assume potentially that the Nocturne's going towards Xiaohu in the top lane. We haven't seen him play it a huge amount. It has traditionally gone towards Cryin or Wei a little bit more, but still, Ale, you'd be able to ban away some of these top lane picks if you want, get a nice easy matchup for yourself, look to scale into the later portion of the game. And for Light, I mean, there's so many different champions that are still open right in that top side of the map, or in the AD carry role. You're not completely worried. The Varus still can be taken off the board. You've still got things like the Senna you could always run with the Nautilus, things like Kai'Sa as well that we often see paired with it, so you're okay at the moment. You're not going to be too far behind.
The Kai'Sa you're just mentioning gets banned out. Jace and Wukong get banned away up on that top side, so potentially could see something like, I mean, it's very likely the Gwen up in the top side, right? So just trying to get rid of some of the tougher matchups for that Gwen. Over to RNG is, you'd anticipate probably a second AD carry ban.
Varus would be the big one here. I think Varus, then maybe we see something like the Tristan honestly come out for Light. He was a big proponent of it, although change of plan here, because with the AP top laner, they want to make sure that Icon can't get his hands on towards the Lucian, have full control mid. That's the Kalista. Okay. So we saw this from JDG earlier on. Does well into the Ezreal matchup, but you do have to be insanely careful, right? Because with the meta that we're seeing at the moment, all these different bruisers that are going to be jumping on you, even like the Nocturne coming in here, it does make it quite hard to execute a Kalista, the short range AD carrying these fights. So I'm curious to see how Light is going to be able to play this one.
We'll have to wait and see. It's come into the meta a lot in 11-12. We're still 11-11 though. So the nerfs on the other AD carries not coming through. It's still the Kalista being played in the LPL. The Viego locked in for the side of RNG alongside Wei is Rumble. And you expect that Viego probably towards the mid lane, but could be Xiaohu taking it top either. And now the final pick has to go towards Icon and the LeBlanc. It's a bit of a specialty of his of old, and we get to see him bringing it back to the stage.
Yeah, I think as well, like for LNG, that mid jungle is so damn strong. Like with a Xiaohu having a bunch of damage or getting the CC from both champions alongside the burst, like it's going to be really hard for someone like Wei if he gets caught out. Hell, even Cryin as well, like can't really dodge away from everything that this duo is going to churn out. So I'm curious to see now if we can have LNG start to put a little bit more pressure through that mid lane and start to move that down towards the bottom side. Because certainly for Light and Lwandy, the mid and AD carry are two champions that love to snowball and get ahead. So I want to see LNG putting that pressure towards this bottom half of the map.
I'm going to say something, Dagda, and you can tell me if I'm going too far. Cryin, in my mind, is the new teacher mark. He's the guy that's never going to play lane and just goes to the sidelines every single time. Like it is genuinely starting to feel like that is the style RNG has to lean towards. Maybe this RNG roster can prove that WE were onto a winner with Teacher Mark Morgan on the roster. I'm determined. Anyway, let's talk about the top lane though, Dagda, because we have Viego versus Gwen, the full Season 11 experience. Which one is more insanely broken? We'll have to wait and find out in the 1v1.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions that are going to be answered with this. I think Viego, certainly in the early stages, just does a hell of a lot more. He's already got an insane range, and now obviously Gwen gets the increased range with her E as well, but having a little bit more consistency there. But yeah, these champions, the kits are just kind of overloaded. I mean, the range advantages, the healing that comes through from them, the burst damage as well from the likes of the Viego, like, it is absolutely insane. But I do think Xiaohu, at least in these early stages, should have an advantage, and then we'll start to see LA, as he gets to the later portion, having a bit more fun in that lane.
LNG with a little bit of cheese in the bottom side, but they're not going to find anything. Gala spots them out, and there will be a ward in the tri-brush. So Lwandy walks forward and will sweep that one though. So RNG not actually sure if anything else is happening off the back of this one, but LNG will just back away and gain control of their top side once more. Wei was there like, maybe I get a red buff off of this one, but he will be disappointed as he has to head home.
So I think as we start to roll into this game, like, we've already kind of touched on LNG, right? Need to play through this mid and bot. They want to get the snowball going. Now, late game insurance there from Ale and the Gwen, but certainly the mid game from this composition is insanely strong. But when we look over at RNG, rather than like the one item spikes we see from LNG, they're kind of waiting on that second round of items to come through to try and find these team fight victories, where you want the Ezreal to have that Divine Sunder, Manamune. You want Cryin to have a bit of sterics for the tankiness he's going to need in these fights, so he's not just getting one shot. So I think certainly LNG, at least in the early stages, should have some control. But as we start to teeter into the later portion of the game, it's going to get a little bit more down to an execution standpoint, rather than just like, hey, look, we've got an outright winner in these fights.
And I think that's always going to be the case when you have things like LeBlanc in the game, things like Ezreal, and when you've got a Nocturne threatening the backline, it's down to how well the backline can respond. Speaking of which, Gala responding with a flash from the level 1 hook from Lwandy, and already now a massive advantage. It's Xiaohu getting punished out, and once again the laners for LNG just bullying RNG.
Yeah, honestly, I thought that at least in the early stages, Viego would have a bit of luck in that lane, but still, you can see that just the attack speed buff and the range buff too much for the Viego even to deal with. So, going to be waiting a little bit of time until Xiaohu can get himself back into an okay position in that top side, as Tarzan, he's just happy to continue clearing here. Won't keep up, but usually the Xin Zhao doesn't keep up in pace with the Rumble, but the fact that Wei has kind of had to teeter down to the spot side, try and right some wrongs from Gala, means that you've actually got a pretty quick clear coming through from Tarzan in respect to what Wei's doing.
Yeah, I need to wait and see if RNG can kind of wake up in this, not just in this game even, just across this split so far. This is the second series now where you feel like RNG on paper should be the favorite, right? Recent champion, MSI champion on top of that. You expect them to be the favorite against a team like LNG, but LNG continue to prove themselves, and RNG continue to fall short. Now, Wei doesn't get to have the same jungle domination that he would like. He has to hover the lanes, like you're saying, and he has to make up for some of the lost time when it comes to Gala having to flash early, when it comes to Xiaohu getting pushed out late.
And you're also getting some nice resets going through from LNG, right? Ale is actually going to get that cheetah recall off because of the early pressure that he got against Xiaohu. So he's walking back to lane with the Doran's Blade, Doran's Ring combo. And like even in the mid lane as well, you can see Icon, he's got a decent amount of pressure. So from LNG perspective, this is all coming up trumps. So I'm waiting to see now how they can try and like push this forward. Although
big trades, Light is low in this bottom side, but he will be okay. Ignite actually burned onto Gala with not much pressure. Bit of a weird Ignite there from Lwandy, but ultimately going to trade fairly even. Light is low on HP, but he's got a couple of biscuits, so he'll be able to stay in the lane at least for now.
Yeah, you can also see as well that he's going to have that like Halo Blades. He's got the lifesteal built in through those rooms. But Tarzan now, see, LNG are still pretty hard pushing, so I don't know how effective it's going to be at getting Tarzan into position.
Light needs to bait this one. He needs to look juicy, but he's got both of his summoners
as well.
Tarzan's sticking around for a long time this bottom lane. The hook goes wide. Maybe that's the opportunity in the eyes of RNG to push in. I have no idea if that gave vision. I have no idea if it was spotted off the back of that Q, but it looks like Tarzan's still sticking around. I think we're going to have a 3v3, Dagda, as Tarzan just resolutely staying in this brush, and Lwandy doing his best to block for Tarzan. Ming about to face check in. Tarzan channeling the recall, and he will finish it off. Okay, situation diffused, Dagda.
Yeah, a lot of time wasted for Tarzan on that bottom side of the map, though. Like, he was sitting there for a good 20 seconds. Lwandy taking a chunk of health as well off of his life bar because he's trying to bait. So now you've got Tarzan, who has got him reset up towards the top side, but LNG might actually be zoned off this turret with Wei here.
Wei moves down. We'll be able to keep them away from the turret. Lwandy moving back in, though. And remember,
Tarzan
this is a Nautilus. He can hold you under the tower for a very long time. It looks like RNG are going to have to back away. As you say, Tarzan moving back over. RNG respect it. They back off of the play in the end. And it all comes to nothing. And it does feel like both of these teams, massive respect towards one another. They know that they have to answer every play. Wei spotted on a ward here. So LNG have full information of what he's up to.
Yeah, and again, you're going to see these camps have been sitting on the top side for Tarzan for quite a while. So whereas you're getting a little bit of a nicer sweep through coming through from Wei, Tarzan will have to make his way up towards top side. Also, the bot lane is where the Scuttle is going to spawn, so neither jungler are going to be in position for that. But heavy trade from Ale. Holy. Now, actually, this is great for Ale, because he can actually go for, again, another recall here, not have to burn his TP, and potentially look for a play on this bottom side. So for dragons and these kind of things, this is super nice for LNG, where now they've got a bit of pressure on them.
Ale gets to go for his reset here. Should be able to just walk back to lane as well. Won't need to use that TP. So, TP advantage, as you say, for Ale. And we'll see if they do opt into using that on the bottom side, or whether he'll opt to use that selfishly. Because that's one of the things as well, is you can use the TP advantage for your own lane. And especially when it's Gwen versus Viego, I could certainly see value in trying to find an advantage via that TP. Because those Season 11 champs, either one of them could take over.
Well, you got the ability haste coming through from Ale. He's not even going to opt in towards any sort of defensive boots. He's just like, hey, look, I'm actually having a grand all time in this lane. He's managed to pick up that wave. So I really want to see, again, like, more action from LNG. Because we talked about, hey, look, you're strongest when you're looking towards these one-item spikes. And we want to see it towards Icon in the mid lane. We're hoping to see a little bit of aggression there from Tarzan. We want to see it down towards that bottom side. But RNG, the Wei specifically, has been doing a great job of hovering these lanes in the bottom side, making sure you can't actually use that teleport advantage or even try and get Tarzan into these lanes, because you'll always end up in a situation where RNG are prepared.
And what a drastically different game we're having in game number 2 compared to the first of this series, where game number 1 was all about fast-paced early game, trading towers, trading objectives, trading fights across the map. And now game 2 is much more reserved, and we keep seeing the junglers hovering lanes, we keep seeing the junglers maybe toying with the idea of an attempt on a lane, but nobody willing to pull the trigger, aside from just basically the level 1 hook from Lwandy. That was about all we saw. But now LNG want to change that as they start this Herald off, and you can see almost everyone on the map responding, except for Gala. Gala staying in that bottom lane means RNG surely cannot contest.
No, but you're going to see that you'll just wander light back down, so we'll go the way of LNG on this early Herald.
Does Needlework have a cooldown? I'm not actually sure. As Ale blasts it a second time in this lane, takes another turret shot with a TP coming on in. Surely will go down. Still has flash, actually running flash on this Gwen. Will get away with it. 1 HP ticking away as Cryin flashes forward to get himself first blood.
Massive mistake from Ale. He was just going that bit too far forward, was feeding himself, but doesn't get the last hit of the needlework. And now RNG, this ain't your bot side anymore, buddy.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're trying to commit to going for a blue buff there. Both of your solo laners are in the top side of the map. Absolute madness here from RNG, and it'll mean LNG get themselves a Drake.
Yeah, Wei just gives LNG the cross-map play. They get on towards him, get the kill, now they get the dragon, and again, this Rift Herald is still in the pocket of Xiaohu. He's actually, looks like he's... No, it's still there. It's just a little bit funky on the bottom of the screen. But yeah, he can now turn this into plates on bot lane, potentially use it mid lane. And again, that kill going to LeBlanc. LeBlanc is a champion that loves to snowball. She's now going to be very quickly going towards that Luden's Tempest and actually having a fairly big impact in this game. You're going to see it on the replay here. Like, Ale goes way too far forward underneath the tower and gets punished rightly by Cryin TP.
I can kind of respect it from Ale, though. You know, there's not much more to talk about in this replay, right? He just gets taken down as Cryin comes in. But look, at the end of the day, Ale is a guy that's trying to build a bit of a reputation for himself. He's a very aggressive top laner. He's managed to find individual leads. He's against Xiaohu, who a lot of people were saying was the best top laner on the end of last split. I think I'm still on the side of Nuggery on that one, and I think Zoom's up there as well. But a lot of people were saying it. Whether it's true or not, people were saying it. If you can get that solo kill, it's gonna do a lot for your reputation. So Ale, I respect it. It was incorrect. It was, you know, a little over-aggressive, but I respect it.
Yeah. Well, kind of, what's it, a double-edged sword, right? Because now you kind of look like a bit of a silly Billy.
Double-edged scissor, if you will.
The kill. True. But now for Icon, I like the way he's trading aggressively, right? You can see here, he's already got that Dark Seal. He knows that, look, I got this blue buff. I can, nearly get onto Cryin, but start to roam around their map, right? I want to see Icon getting out of this lane. It's fine trading heavily against Cryin, but he needs to start to turn these lanes in their favor, especially bot side. Like, there's a 45 CS lead over for Gala, just because of the amount of poke Gala and Ming have been able to put out.
Yeah, and don't forget earlier as well, Wave was actually able to zone Lwandy and light off of the wave for a good while. So the CS gap closed ever so slightly by that massive wave that was crashing underneath the tower, but it's still going to be, what, 30, almost 40 CS in favor of Gala. So definitely a great start to the game for this bottom lane, and a level advantage as well when it comes to those AD carries. So does feel like struggling a little bit on this Kalista. Tarzan moving down, does have the Herald for himself. It's going to be difficult to use the Herald bot, though, when you have literally negative priority in this lane right now.
Yeah, it does have the TP advantage for the moment, though, so might look to get the LeBlanc down here.
Mike is in a bit of trouble here. Wei has to flash. This is a TP coming through from Icon. Depth charge onto Ming. The equalizer comes down defensively here as Wei trying to get out with his life. But Icon's into the middle of everyone. And it's going to be a kill going the way of Tarzan. No hook available as Icon has to back away from this one. And LNG, they'll be happy with that. Just a singular kill.
Yeah, you're going to get the just the recalls coming through here. Not getting that Rift Herald, though. And it is very close to timing out. So I'm curious what Tarzan's game plan is here. But either way, riding some of the missteps that the LNG bottom lane had gone for, and that kill again going over into the hands of Tarzan is going to be super nice.
It'll certainly be a nice advantage for Tarzan in the early game. And the Zhao, obviously, you do really want to snow. It's one of those champions that if you get a lead for yourself, you can take over the game. Granted, with this build, you're not quite as snowbally. You're still going to function in the team if you're going for the tankier builds. Certainly, the builds you see in solo queue with the lethality, it's very much about the early kills, but it's just going to be Herald in the mid lane here. Icon jumps on forward to try and be in range, gets a good amount of damage, maybe gets a solo kill on the way. Oh my days, so close to finishing the job. I thought he was just there for the plate goal, but he wanted a little bit more.
I think that surprised everyone, to be honest. Even Wei was kind of like, hang on a bloody second, and Icon was going to back away and then realize, hang on, maybe I do actually have the kill here. So, yeah, we talked about this with LeBlanc getting ahead. You can see why, because not only do you have, like, Wei as an option in these team fights, Gala, Ming as an option, like, there's so many people that Icon can obliterate if given the opportunity. And the fact now you've got this 10 CS lead, got the goal, the kill and the assist, you're in really good spot here for Icon to take over this game from the assassin role.
Might be in trouble here, but dodges away from a bit of the damage. That's one of the issues of this Karma, right, is you don't really have any hard engage. So Light's fine off of the back of that minor miss position. Has his first item as well, importantly. Kalista does spike pretty hard on one item, and when we already have one Drake in favor of LNG, second one coming up in 30 seconds, wouldn't be too surprised to see Tarzan moving towards that bottom side of the map. His camps are up on that side as well. Does feel like that could be the next port of call for LNG.
Yeah, the only thing I will say for Light's Power Spike, definitely wants to finish those boots. The increased leap range that you get from the tier 2 boots is very important for Kalista, especially in team fights like this where there's a lot of mystic shots coming your way, a lot of those inner flames that you got to try and dodge from. So I think definitely still waiting on Light a little bit, nice. But Cryin nearly going down to Icon as the Dragon just going to be started by LNG thanks to Icon getting control mid here.
If I'm not mistaken, that was a frame-perfect spell shield on the distortion from Icon. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see the spell shield, but the distortion didn't do damage, so it must have been there. Wait, goes for the equalizer, but it's literally just going to burn the shield off of Lwandy. Nothing too much going to come of that one. And with the equalizer down, maybe an opportunity for LNG, but Icon, not much mana to work with. There is a blue buff, so maybe it's still possible.
And also you had the TP from Cryin back in towards mid lane as we're getting more trading top side.
Ale, not a single care in the world. Now find the bottom lane. Exhaust goes straight onto this Kalista, but with a numbers advantage, that's not going to matter at all. Gala goes down. Ming will be next on the chopping block as the kill. Given over to Light. You see Xiaohu doing his best to try and turn this one around, but Icon just breaks his ankles and zips back into the play. And once again, LNG finding advantages in the early game. This time, they ace the entire squad.
Excuse me, Mr. Munchables, I'd like you to look to the top lane. Because that wasn't a 5v5, that was a 4v5. Ale stayed in the top lane that whole time, and it was a full clean ace. LNG just wiped the floor with RNG. They get the top lane tower, they're gonna get the dragon. Like, this game just blew open off that play for LNG.
And guess what? We've got a composition with a LeBlanc, with a Kalista, with a Zhao, with a Gwen at the top side. It's not like these champions don't snowball. This is going to be real hard for RNG. It's going to look great engaged, my one.
Yeah, great engage on towards Gala, burning the flash. You know Icon's going to be here in just a moment. And Icon just completely destroys Gala. Ming has got nowhere to be found. As he said, like, breaking ankles here as Icon. Xiaohu commits the flash, the heal at the last second to keep Icon alive, and it means that he's able to finish off Cryin alongside it. So now you've got a 3-kill LeBlanc, 2 kills on towards this Kalista, the Gore Drinker completed from Tarzan thanks to his own 2 kills, and with Rift Herald up, LNG now have another opportunity to either take a fight or force more objectives so they can actually crack open these towers and force RNG onto the back foot.
And you know, before this series, Cryin was just the mid laner for RNG. Now, as we're getting further into this series, Cryin is a word that represents every player on RNG and every single fan of RNG, because this feels like RNG are falling apart just a little bit here. 7-1 advantage for LNG as a second game in a row they find themselves with the lead as they head into the mid game. This time it's 3,000, slightly more than last time around, and they get another Herald. They also have 2 Drakes. It's also going to be an Infernal Soul that could potentially go their way, unless RNG can find some way to get back in the game. I feel like we've got to see Cryin away getting really active on the map, and that's what they're trying to do. Onto Ale here, but is running that flash. He's playing the safe version of Gwen, but base checking the tri-brush. That's not very safe at all, Mr. Ale. But it doesn't matter, because he'll just skip away, I guess. Nothing happens.
I mean, equalizer for the needlework, and now there's LNG pushing on towards this mid turret. Like, they can just hard force this and still hold on to this Rift Herald as Icon. You can see how much respect he's getting from RNG with how far ahead he is.
And it's been a long time since you said that sentence, isn't it, Dagda? Because
yeah,
Icon has had a rough couple of years, but it feels like he is back here as he jumps onto Gala in the backline, exhausted. That means he can't finish the kill. He goes down, but it's at the cost of the rest of the team for RNG. Gala barely surviving. This tier 2's in trouble right now. The Herald still in the pocket, I think, of Tarzan right now. They could potentially try and threaten an inhibitor off the back of this.
It is only 18 minutes, so may not want to fully commit. I think they are just going to use the try and take a tier 2 and top side instead. But, I mean, this is brilliant from LNG. Managing to get the tier 2, 2 kills from himself, trading for 1. And again, like, you still have plenty of time to toss down this Rift Herald, so you don't need to hard force at the moment. You can look instead to put it down in, a minute's time when you have that pressure on towards Dragon. We've got the pressure towards Baron as well. Like, this is LNG dominating RNG.
Gala. Just Icon comes out of nowhere and blows him up. That exhaust saves the day. Actually, it was after the burst. Oh, I guess it's true. Not like it does make it happen. I think Ming got the kill.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it was just a blind panic to make sure they could take Icon down, but still, I mean, look at the items that are coming through, right? You got the Riftmaker for LA at the top lane, he's spiking off that. Gore Drinker and Nerdy the Hysterics completed here for Tarzan in the jungle. You got your 2 items coming through for Icon. Even the bot lane, you got the 2 items for Light as well, who's managed to pick up 3 kills. So LNG, like, this is when they're strongest, and they have such a stranglehold on this map, it's going to be nigh impossible for RNG to try and break that.
Tarzan just walks up to Xiaohu like, these are mine now. I'm going to take the Krugs. There's nothing you can do about it. And, you know, not long ago, Dagda, you were saying, hey, we need to wait and see. Light still only had tier 1 boots. He's not really that strong as a Kalista just yet. Well, since that point, which was, what, maybe 5 minutes ago, he's finished his tier 2 boots. He also got a Hurricane on top of that. Now he's definitely big boy Kalista. As Allay's in trouble. Xiaohu forcing the play here. Cryin onto the other side as well. Allay surely goes down. The question will be, what else can LNG do elsewhere? And I don't think there is much of anything.
Well, I mean, Icon should be able to get a decent amount of damage onto this top tower. We still have that Rift Herald. It's still sitting in Tarzan's pocket. He hasn't actually used that yet, so I'm not sure what the game plan here is from LNG. That needs to be put down. You can see it. It's about nearly at timing now. It is LNG just back away from Dragon. They're happy to give this for top tier 2. Although, TP...
Now, Icon has TP. He's recalling right now. We'll be able to get a purchase in. Already has Morello. Blasting one comes in. TP from Icon behind the play. Dragon taken here by RNG, but the fight is what LNG are looking for. Depth charge onto it. Equalizer across the team as well. Icon has to flash back out of the play. Now a TP from Allay to join the fray once more. He's late to the party, but that doesn't mean the party stopped just yet. In goes Icon. Double flash forwards as he's trying to finish kills off, and he easily obliterates Cryin. Way now getting chased down. Wants to trade it, but he doesn't have the damage, and Allay closed in the gap even further. Like desperately trying to get in range this entire time. But guess what, Dagda? We're 20 minutes in, and Baron is on the cards.
Yeah, Rift Herald be damned. I mean, LNG, they dominate the fight. They're moving over towards this Baron, and Allay, he wants a little bit more, but it is Gala and Ezreal. He's not really going to be able to get that.
There's a Herald in the bot lane, by the way.
Oh, it's bot.
So LNG, if RNG actually contest on this one, they probably lose a tier 2 bot right there. The Herald is going to be slowly but surely pushing away. And look, it's a Kalista anyway, so even if you get in and try and contest, you're not going to outsmite.
They might lose that bot tier 2 anyway. Like, I mean, Herald does a lot. It's already got the charge. One more auto. Yeah, it goes down. So you've got Baron, you've got the fight, you've got Terror. Like, yeah, you've got everything here. So LNG, like, look at the gold lead. They're 8,000 gold at 22 minutes. Like, they are so far ahead right now. It's insane.
Now, Allay will be able to zip on out of the jungle as well, although he's playing with fire here. You do got to respect this one, mate. You got to go back. The rest of RNG are nearby, so will be a full reset from LNG. Let's take another look at this fight, because it was immaculate from LNG.
Yeah, I thought it was going to go a little bit messy here with Icon missing his chains. Also, you're getting the hook missing, but they're able to follow up thanks to the Kalista and just the raw damage that they have right now. You can see here Icon flashing in, the electrocute managing to finish off Cryin there, just off the Sigil of Malice. Like, LNG were just tearing them apart, and there's nothing they can do. Like, as they kite back, there's just so much damage that's being thrust in their direction.
And when you look at this comp from RNG, you expect them to be the ones diving in, but the story has been the complete opposite across the course of this game. It's 3-12 on the scoreboard. We're 23 minutes in, Dagda, and there's an 8,000 gold lead for LNG. They're on the cusp of 2-0ing the reigning champions. And RNG, on the opposite side of that coin, they're on the cusp of going 0-2 in the LPL right here. It's not a good look for our MSI champs as they re-enter the fray.
And especially like teams like OMG, LNG now potentially taking them down. It's not like they're playing off against top esports and FPX, right? Like, these are teams that you would assume RNG are going to be able to take down, but LNG playing absolutely out of their minds. Same with OMG the last day, and RNG are kind of left with their hands raised going, hey, what the hell are we supposed to do here?
Equalizer comes down. That's a good bit of damage. LNG are feeling pretty low off the back of this one. Flash away from Allay. Shield across the team as well, but they're able to re-engage onto this one, and the damage is just out of this world. RNG maybe find an opportunity, though. Tarzan in the backline right now. The damage just isn't there for RNG. In they go one by one to try and finish these low health bars off, but they were just as baited as I was. The towers go down, and Dagda, that might just be game.
That could be. I mean, 20 seconds left. Baron creeps in the base. Ming, the last one standing. The minions are so low. He's trying to clear them out.
And Icon looking to 1v1 Ming in the meantime, just keeps him away. Minions
There's
in
no
for
minions.
now. Looks like LNG can't end the game for now. Ming might be the consolation prize, but I think he can get underneath the tower and should be able to keep himself safe. Icon, no, he doesn't have damage. Oh, it was the other chains. There's two tethers. It's hard to figure out who's tethered who there. Ming gets out with his life.
Ming with the fancy footwork able to get away from that one. And I mean, he saved the game there. Managing to get the double blast onto the backline creeps means that they're not able to close that out. But watch in horror as this fight unfolds, because you get the engage coming through from Cryin, who baits in Gala. So he manages to dodge the hook, but it means Gala tanks the hook that was meant for Cryin, and he ends up falling in that fight. Doesn't have the flash to try and escape, but already used the arcane shift, and without that damage, there's just not enough to finish off anyone on LNG. And again now, LNG, they extend the gold lead. They've got the mid inhibitor down. Dragon is up in 30, and Xiaohu's in the wrong spot.
Yeah, Dagda Icon was just waiting. Ally trying to bait it, but the minion wave arrives, and I think they realized they ran out of time for this play to happen, so they will back away in the end. TP behind them. Drake's coming up as well. Maybe this is the chance for RNG to get back on top of this game. Blast Cone is there. Icon takes it on out. He just abandons Ally as Cryin flies in from the side. Ally's still nearly taking 2 of them out. Look at Cryin away his health bar.
Yeah, that needlework at this stage going to be doing a lot of damage, and RNG now, they got to back away. They need to go heal up. They can't just fight the 4v5, and LNG, despite the fact losing a member, they'll handily take the dragon.
Oh, True Shot Barrage and the equalizer, not quite going to be enough. Good effort, but Tarzan hits his smite, hits it true, and Icon returns to the side lane once more, and Xiaohu, he don't want any of that. That's not a fight he can win at this point in the game. He does have 2 items for himself, but he's going to pale in comparison to what Icon can bring to the party. Now you can see LNG moving up towards the top side as it feels like they're on the cusp of closing this one out. 10,000 is the gold lead at RNG. Dagda, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Talk me through the miracle situation. What has to happen for RNG to come back in this one? We might have to hold the thought, because maybe Waymaker a pick could be the answer.
It's picks. It's trying to see if they can pick off members of LNG, but Icon is incredibly difficult to do it for. I'd rather see it look towards like Kalista or someone along these lines, but because you've got Cryin who's trying to push in top lane, it's not like he's actually able to surprise LNG. They know where he's coming from, and you don't get the extra mana advantage. Plus, LNG, they're playing this super safe, right? They realize that their composition doesn't really work because in these siege scenarios because of the short range. So instead, they're just pushing these waves in and waiting for this Baron in 45 seconds. Resets are coming through. You've got items galore coming through, basically 3 items across the board now for LNG. And for RNG, they're scrambling for their second one.
Big old BF sword coming in off of the reset for Light as well. He is going to be hitting like a truck on this Kalista. And you know, one of the conversations that inevitably always comes up when Kalista's in the game is you're talking about, oh my days! Icon, that is classic misdirection right there. Wei believed that he had the right to be alive on Summoner's Rift, but that was all just a cunning ruse from Icon.
I mean, he's got the Rabadon's death cap. It's in the name. It's death follows alongside the death cap. And LNG now, they make the pick. They get the Baron for free. There's not much that you can do with the jungler of RNG dead. And Icon, I mean, resets are in. He can just do this again if anyone walks forward.
Oh my
Ming!
God, he does it again. Ming barely gets out. That was an exhaust and a heal for Ming to survive that one. Imagine if Icon hasn't died. Then you ain't getting away from that one.
Hey.
Tarzan and Light in the meantime just get a 2-man Baron. It doesn't feel like there's anything RNG can do.
I mean, look, man. RNG and Assassins, name a worse duo right now, because the Tarzan on the Diana, we had Cream's Kiana, we had Cream on Akali, and now we're getting Icons LeBlanc, and RNG just look baffled by these champions and really don't know what to do.
It doesn't feel like they have a game plan for this one as Lwandy tries to close the gap. It's not going to happen. Xiaohu forced away, flashes away as well as an inhib falls. RNG, this is the last chance saloon. This is the last bastion here as Lwandy looks for the engage. 2 inhibs down. They don't have a minion wave on the bot side, but I think they might just go for the dive. Instead, Wei has to turn golden, but the rest of the team of LNG is going to collapse as Ally jumps into the backline. He's 1v4 on the back. That is insane. Equalizer out. Lwandy might go down, but he walks away and nobody even dies. LNG just collapsed RNG 2-0.
What a confident display from LNG. The fact that they were able to come into this series, play their style of League of Legends, snowball against RNG, one of the teams that's so good at suffocating you, stopping you from playing everything you want to. It's LNG who come out on top in such a decisive manner.
It's It's a really rough start to the split here for RNG. There's still plenty of time. They still have another 14 best of 3s to go this split, so you don't need to panic just yet. There's plenty of time for them to get back on the horse, but this is a monumental victory for LNG. This is a team that people are doubting. This is a team that people are saying maybe it's not what it's cracked up to be, but in a moment like this against an opponent like RNG, they prove themselves. They prove that they cannot be underestimated, and they take sole possession of first place in the LPL.
Yeah, they were tied with EDG to start out today 4-0, but now 5-0, and honestly, I think we need to start looking at LNG in a different light. Like, they have now beaten FPX, they've beaten JDG, they've beaten RNG, and look, I know some people might go and look at RA last year and go, well, you know, RA, they had this victory streak that worked out really well for them, but it never looked as convincing as this. It never looked like they were trading up in the games. It felt like they kind of brought the other teams down to their level. This is LNG playing decisively at a high level, playing the map state well. Mechanics in team fights are great. Their positioning in team fights is wonderful. And although there was some mistakes coming through from Light and Lwandy in that bottom lane in this game, over the course of this series and other series, it's been just spectacular across the board. It feels like we're getting to see Tarzan and Icon at their prime.
It really does. Icon especially, I'm really pleasantly surprised by how well he's able to do so far this split, and does feel like the meta is swinging back his way, and he is over the moon about that fact, because he feels like he is flexing in these games. Like that assassination onto Wei in the mid lane, that was disgusting. That was absolutely terrifying. That's the kind of LeBlanc that you never want to have to play against. It feels like they're having fun in these games. And the team fighting from LNG, especially in the early stages of the game, obviously their laning is looking great in general, but also the skirmishes that come off the back of that, they feel clean, man. They feel crisp.
Yeah, they feel so good. And I love that we're seeing kind of, as you're pointing out, like standard performances across the board, right? We have seen the Light and Lwandy carry in their previous series against FPX. Now we're seeing the Icon carry in this LeBlanc. We've seen Tarzan carry literally the game right before this. Like, even Ale as well, having insane performances against FPX. He had some great performances here today as well. There doesn't seem to be anyone on this team that can't step up to be the carry. And especially when it's these players outperforming, outshining their past selves, it feels like the kind of the break and the course, the spring split, all that hard work for LNG is finally paying off.
Yeah, it does feel like LNG are starting to become a real contender and starting to get into that conversation of actually one of the top teams. Now, there's still a long road ahead of them. As we say, this is their 5th win now for themselves. That means they do still have 11 best of 3s to go. But as you were saying yourself, Dagda, they've already toppled some of the top teams, so shouldn't be that difficult of a task. I mean, in my mind, LNG are guaranteed playoffs at minimum, right? That's like a bare minimum for this team at this stage.
At this stage, right? So, like, they've got people that are still left to go are like top esports and EDG, but that's the last week of week 8 and week 9 of the summer split. But when you look towards, like, the rest of the teams, like, yes, WE is in there, still a very top team, but when you look at the rest, they're all kind of like the people that are lagging or not really performing. Like Suning, IG still in there, Ray are in there, but the rest of them are kind of our bottom of the tier teams. So there's actually not a huge amount, or sorry, even LGD in there is kind of like a potential matchup. But realistically, like, a lot of the heavy lifting's been done. Like, you've taken down our two finalists from spring. You've now taken down JDG, who was one of our semi-finalists, our quarter-finalists, and you're like, you still have, like, a lot of your legwork has been done at this stage for LNG.
Definitely feeling that way, and I'm excited for what's ahead of them. They're feeling confident. They're looking confident on the Rift. And we keep on talking about the top teams. We keep on talking about how stacked the LPL is. I'm just looking over the standings on my other monitor, and I'm just like, man... Like,
what's happening?
When you look at the fact that IG and RNG are in 11th and 12th, and everyone above them is a team that you can see making playoffs, that's absolutely mental. It is crazy.
Even like, top esports is still in there as well. They're sitting at like 10th. You've got LGD that just looked good today. Like, there are so many teams that basically from like 11th to 12th up could end up in playoffs. And like, even OMG outperforming there the other day as well. They're sitting there in 6th place. Like, there's a lot of question marks around them, but still, like, the LPL is damn exciting this summer.
I'm not gonna lie, Dagda. In spring, we increased the amount of playoff spots to 10, right? And I was kind of like, well, first series of playoffs not gonna be that good. There's 10 teams, so whatever. Now I'm like, hang on, I don't even know
12?
who's gonna make top 10. Yeah, can we have 2 more playoff spots? Because my God, it's so close. I'm like giddy. I'm so excited for when we get
it's summer.
And we're talking about playoffs. We're only in week 2.
But we get playoffs and we get regional finals. Like, we get the double whammy for summer as well. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this split turns out.
Oh, it's gonna be a good split. I can feel it. This is gonna be a good year for the LPL and RNG especially. They're the team that were heralding this, right? They're the team that won the LPL in spring that they would ever say, and people were already whispering about the Golden Road, right? People were already saying, oh, what if they can win all 4, the Grand Slam? Yeah. Well, they've got some work to do if they want to make that happen, because 0-2 to start off the summer split is really not the way to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues here. I mean, I think the biggest one is Cryin in that mid lane. Not really been able to deal with these assassins in a lot of situations. It just feels like kind of the meta has shifted away from these control mages, and because of that, Cryin is kind of like, well, I'm not comfortable with my laning phase. I'm not entirely able to deal with a lot of these players, and then when we get into the team fights, these assassins are popping off, and RNG don't really know how to deal with them just because they're accessing the back line, they're coming in on multiple flanks, and it's no longer this like front to back style team fight that RNG seems so comfortable with.
Yeah, it does feel like it's going to be a tough meta for RNG as things do shake up, and it has been a pretty dramatic meta shake up comparatively to what we saw in spring split, so it's understandable that it would take a bit of time to get used to things once again, but it does mean that we have a shake up in terms of the standings as well, and I have to say, it's going to be a good split, that is for sure. LNG especially, proving that they are a team that you've got to be looking out for, that you've got to be worried about. EDG looking on top of things. WE so far haven't got a loss for themselves. FPX having some really good series, faltering a couple of times as well. Even Rare Atom are 3-1 right now. OMG is actually a team I'm really excited about, which I don't think I was going to say that sentence for a few years, right? But when they're running these full assassin comps where you've got a Nocturne top for new, you've got Cryin on your Kianas, your Akalis, your Silases, you name it, some kind of assassin, get me there. Unbelievable. There's just so much to talk about with the LPL right now. Let's talk about this series, though. We've got our MVP. It's Icon on the LeBlanc coming out of that game.
Yeah, and look, LeBlanc is not always the easiest of champions to try and like get into this position with, because you do need at least a little bit of help, or at least a little bit of a starter pack to get yourself into the right position. And I mean, Icon got that roam off to bot lane, picked up a kill, and suddenly that snowballed into 3 kills, into 4 kills, and then he just became this absolute menace. So the fact that he was able to so effectively find these roaming opportunities to set up LNG for success was amazing. And then you saw him in these team fights. Way wasn't safe, Cryin wasn't safe, Gala had already pieced out before Icon even got within touching distance of him. So yeah, the amount of respect that he garnered was amazing. And you can see, right, he's 1 kill already to his name, and then he comes in and this was, as you dubbed it, Munch, the ankle breaker.
Yeah, you think Icon's going to go down, Xiaohu thinks he's got it, and he just pop, slips back to the distortion. And I mean, when you win an early game fight like this, Dagda, it's going to be difficult to lose the game off the back of that, honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that impresses me the most with LNG is, like, we've seen them in situations where they get these early snowballs and they're very good at closing out the games. The problem that we've had is that, like, in games that were, at least in spring, kind of semi-even to slightly behind, LNG just never really knew what to do. They just would end up slowly but surely bleeding out, the team fighting would look very messy, and you just wouldn't quite come together. But now we're actually seeing them proactive in the early stages, consistently finding these early leads. But even in the game one of this series, where this is very touch and go, it's a very close game, LNG are matching RNG all over the place. They're actually understanding how they can try and play out the map state better, and I think that's why we're seeing such a massive upgrade, is the shot calling on this team has just leveled up drastically as well.
Yeah, and I'm really curious who the shot caller is for LNG. I hope somebody can interview this team and get me that information, or if someone at home knows already, if that's already been said in an interview and I missed it, please do tweet at me or something, because I want to know who to praise for that early game, especially game number 1 of this series. As you're saying, like, the way that they're trading around the map, it's really something to behold. It's picturesque. So I am curious who we should be crediting that one for, but it does feel like when you've got veterans on this roster, you've got Tarzan there in the jungle. I can see him potentially being the guy